The week of July 20th is going to bring a drastic storyline shift that nobody is prepared for. We have been hearing a lot of hush hush rumors lately, but this top secret document I am looking at changes everything we thought we knew about the upcoming episodes. It seems like the writers are preparing to introduce a completely new era in town, bringing in fresh faces and returning legacy characters who are going to turn the current power dynamics completely upside down. We need to sit down and really dissect what is about to happen, because if these unconfirmed leaks are even partially accurate, the landscape of our favorite town is never going to be the same again. Let us start by talking about the mysterious new arrival, Hudson. On the surface, the casting notes and initial script leaks present him as a wealthy, legitimate businessman looking to make some savvy investments in town. But, ladies, we have watched this show long enough to know that nobody just comes to town to buy real estate and attend charity galas. It seems like this shiny corporate facade is nothing more than a perfectly crafted disguise. Hi, chances are this businessman persona is just a brilliant cover story designed to lull the local authorities and rival organizations into a false sense of security. When a handsome, well-dressed stranger arrives with unlimited funds and zero verifiable background history, you can bet your bottom dollar that he is hiding a very dark and dangerous secret. I have been analyzing every single unconfirmed leak about his upcoming scenes, and the truth might be way more complicated than a simple corporate takeover. Hudson is not here to play nice. He is here to conquer and dominate. What if Hudson is actually the next major villain we have been waiting for? For months, we have been watching various antagonists come and go, but none of them have truly managed to establish a permanent, terrifying grip on the local underworld. It seems like the writers have been clearing the board specifically to make room for a mastermind of Hudson's caliber. High chances are that he has been watching the town from afar, studying the weaknesses of every major player, and waiting for the perfect moment to strike. This top secret document hints that his ultimate target is none other than the legendary mob empire built by Sonny. Now, we all know Sonny has faced countless enemies over the decades, from rival families to rogue agents, but Hudson feels entirely different. He is not a street thug. He is a sophisticated predator who operates in the shadows, using his immense wealth and corporate connections to launch attacks that Sonny will never see coming. The dynamic between Hudson and Sonny is going to be absolutely explosive. What if Hudson has already infiltrated Sonny's legitimate businesses? We know Sonny relies heavily on his coffee imports and restaurant fronts to clean his money and maintain a respectable public image. High chances are that Hudson is going to systematically dismantle those legitimate fronts, squeezing Sonny financially before ever firing a single bullet. The truth might be way more complicated than a simple turf war. It seems like Hudson wants to destroy Sonny's reputation, isolate him from his family, and leave him completely vulnerable. I am looking at these hush-hush rumors, and they suggest that Sonny is going to severely underestimate Hudson at first. Sonny is used to dealing with loud, aggressive enemies who make their intentions known. Hudson is quiet, calculating, and incredibly patient. By the time Sonny realizes the true extent of the threat, it might be entirely too late to save his empire. Now, let us dive into the really juicy part of this unconfirmed leak. What if Hudson is secretly connected to Sidwell? We have all been watching Sidwell cause absolute chaos, setting deadly traps and terrorizing everyone in his path. But Sidwell is a loose cannon, and loose cannons eventually get caught or eliminated. It seems like the authorities are closing in on Sidwell, and his days of running free are strictly numbered. High chances are that if Sidwell is arrested, killed, or forced to flee the country, a massive power vacuum will open up in the criminal underworld. The truth might be way more complicated than Sidwell operating entirely alone. What if Hudson is actually Sidwell's silent partner, or even his superior? This behind-the-scenes whisper suggests that Hudson is perfectly positioned to sweep in and take over Sidwell's entire illegal network the second Sidwell goes down. Imagine the sheer terror of Hudson taking control of Sidwell's resources and combining them with his own corporate wealth. It seems like we are about to witness the birth of a shadow empire unlike anything the town has ever seen. High chances are that Hudson will use his legitimate businessman status to launder the profits from Sidwell's operations, creating an unstoppable financial juggernaut. What if Sonny suddenly finds himself fighting a ghost? Hudson will be attending hospital galas and shaking hands with the mayor by day, while ordering hits and moving illegal cargo by night. The truth might be way more complicated than anyone realizes, because Hudson will have the perfect alibi for every crime committed under his watch. This drastic storyline shift is going to push Sonny to his absolute breaking point, forcing him to fight a war where the enemy is hiding in plain sight, protected by expensive lawyers and a pristine public image. But the criminal underworld is not the only place experiencing massive upheaval. Let us turn our attention to the corporate drama, because the hush-hush rumors surrounding the return of Serena are absolutely scorching. Played by the incredibly talented Kelly, Serena is stepping back onto the canvas, and let me tell you, this is not going to be a sweet, nostalgic family reunion. It seems like the writers are bringing Serena back with a very specific, ruthless agenda. High chances are that she has been watching the endless bickering and mismanagement at Deception from afar, and she has finally decided that enough is enough. What if Serena is returning to claim what she believes is rightfully hers? The truth might be way more complicated than her just wanting a job. She wants complete and total control of the entire cosmetics empire. The power struggle at Deception has been dragging on for months, with various factions constantly stabbing each other in the back. It seems like Serena's arrival is going to be the spark that ignites a full-blown corporate war. High chances are that she is not going to align herself with the current leadership. Instead, what if she forms a secret alliance with a silent investor or uses her own hidden wealth to launch a hostile takeover? I am reading between the lines of this unconfirmed leak, and the truth might be way more complicated than a simple boardroom disagreement. Serena is going to use every trick in the book, leveraging old family secrets, exploiting personal weaknesses, and manipulating the press to force the current executives out of their corner offices. She is coming in like a wrecking ball, and nobody at Deception is safe from the fallout. We have to consider how Serena's ruthless new attitude is going to affect her relationships in town. What if she is willing to destroy lifelong friendships just to secure a majority share in the company? It seems like Kelly is going to play this role with a delicious, icy calculation that will leave the other characters completely stunned. High chances are that Serena will initially pretend to be a supportive ally, offering a shoulder to cry on and expert business advice, all while secretly gathering the evidence she needs to stage a massive corporate coup. The truth might be way more complicated than mere greed. Perhaps Serena feels deeply wronged by the way her family's legacy has been handled, and she views this hostile takeover as an act of necessary vengeance. This behind-the-scenes whisper guarantees that the Deception boardroom is going to become the bloodiest battlefield in town. Moving away from the corporate warfare, we also have some incredibly juicy romantic drama brewing with the introduction of Simon. On paper, Simon is a charming, successful music producer who has arrived in town to scout new talent. It seems like a perfectly innocent setup, right? Wrong. High chances are that Simon is going to bring a tidal wave of emotional complications. What if his interest in local talent is just a convenient excuse to get close to someone specific? The truth might be way more complicated than a simple professional mentorship. This unconfirmed leak reveals that Simon is going to set his sights squarely on Trina, and he is not going to take no for an answer. Trina is young, talented, and standing on the edge of a massive career breakthrough, making her the perfect target for a charismatic producer who knows exactly what to say to make a girl feel like a superstar. The dynamic between Simon and Trina is going to be electric, but also incredibly dangerous. It seems like Simon is going to use his industry connections and musical expertise to sweep Trina off her feet. High chances are that they will spend long, intimate hours in the recording studio, sharing late-night conversations and bonding over their shared passion for art. What if Simon slowly starts to isolate Trina from her support system, convincing her that only he truly understands her creative vision? The truth might be way more complicated than a sweet workplace romance. Simon is a man who is used to getting exactly what he wants, and he wants Trina's heart just as much as he wants her talent on his record label. This drastic storyline shift is going to force Trina to navigate the incredibly blurry line between professional ambition and personal boundaries. Of course, a romance in this town is never simple, and Simon's aggressive pursuit of Trina is going to spark a massive conflict with Kai. It seems like Kai is not going to sit back and watch some slick, out-of-town music producer steal the girl he cares about. High chances are that we are about to witness one of the most intense, bitter love triangles we have seen in years. What if Kai tries to warn Trina about Simon's true intentions, only to have it blow up in his face? The truth might be way more complicated than simple jealousy. Kai genuinely cares for Trina's well-being, while Simon might view her as just another beautiful prize to be won. This behind-the-scenes whisper suggests that the tension between Simon and Kai is going to boil over into physical confrontations, public screaming matches, and desperate attempts to prove who is the better man. The rivalry between Simon and Kai is going to force Trina into an impossible position. It seems like she will have to choose between the comfortable, genuine connection she shares with Kai and the thrilling, career-making promises offered by Simon. High chances are that Simon will use his power as a producer to hold Trina's career hostage, subtly implying that her success depends entirely on her willingness to be with him romantically. What if Kai decides to fight fire with fire, digging into Simon's past to expose a dark secret that could ruin the producer's reputation? The truth might be way more complicated than a simple choice between two men. It is a battle for Trina's soul and her future in the music industry. This unconfirmed leak promises that the fallout from this love triangle will leave at least one person completely devastated and brokenhearted. When you look at all these pieces together, it is clear that the writers are fundamentally changing the DNA of the show. Hudson, Serena, and Simon are not just temporary guest stars. They are the architects of a massive new era. It seems like the old guard is being pushed to the brink, forced to defend their empires, their companies, and their relationships against a younger, hungrier, and more ruthless generation. High chances are that the upcoming weeks will feature shocking betrayals, unexpected alliances, and devastating losses. What if Sonny loses his empire, deception falls into Serena's hands, and Trina's heart is shattered by Simon's manipulation? The truth might be way more complicated than any of us can possibly predict, but one thing is absolutely certain. Nobody is going to emerge from this summer unscathed. So, keep your eyes wide open and trust absolutely no one on your screen next week. The board has been set, the new players have taken their positions, and the deadly games have officially begun. But remember, ladies, just when you think you have figured out who the real monster is, the shadows will shift and the knife will come from the person you least expect.